In the film, when the end came, it told me how privileged I am.
Yeah. What makes you say, I want to come on board this film as an executive producer?
I didn't say.
Whiskey.
I thought now I'm going to offer him the lead, so he's going to be like, fuck yeah, of course I'll take it. Then I went to him and बोला अभिषेक यार आप ये नहीं आप गौतम कर लो. कहता क्यों? नहीं मुझे तो वही कर.
You don't, I don't know, equipped probably, many of us,
Right.
to understand somebody else's problems really.
Right.
You know.
This film has that kind of like you can't take your eyes off because it's happening in
You're
real
just
time.
getting it, and
feels
characters are not established,
Yeah.
they unravel.
Pre-pandemic, there was a need to go to the cinema to be able to at least get your fix of whatever kind of movies that even, whether it's even the kind of movies that we in our ecosystem like to
Right.
watch.
I feel the audience also feels betrayed with the experience as.
But Amazon is fighting a good fight. I'm not saying it because this is an Amazon. They're saying no. Amazon MGM, we are going into
cinemas.
theaters.
So abhi, after this film, I'm getting KT, Gaurav Dhingra and everybody to help me release my film.
Yes.
Done.
Yes, done.
Hello, Team Stolen. There are some people I've not met here, like Anurag Kashyap, for instance. Very nice to meet you, sir. This kind of. But I must thank the producer Gaurav and Nikhil for the splash of color that you brought to this very, very sober ensemble. It's like some.
Conversation has become very controversial already.
Yeah. When I watched this film, which is really excellent, the one thing that I took away was one of those many dilemmas that you keep grappling with, whether you do the right thing or the more expedient thing. For example, you see something happening, you instead of, the right thing to do would be to report it to a police station or go do something. But then one part of your mind kicks in and says, but do I really want to do the courtroom chakkars and do I really want to do that? And you kind of sometimes, apart from the other things, of course, that was something that really struck me because there's two brothers in the film, and one of them seemed to be like the part the rational part of your brain that says, this is not our business. I know it's a sad thing, but it's not our business. Let's just get out. And the other brothers, like the more humanitarian part of us. Did any one of you get that thing from the film, takeaway?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The film is
The
completely about
amazing
that.
complexities and grayness of the characters, even the mother,
Yeah.
the choices that she makes.
Yeah.
I'm saying, if you see it from a very moral point of view, you will judge her.
Yeah.
But we are not in her shoes. I'm saying
Yeah.
every character in this film is making choices which are very hard to make,
Yeah.
which is what makes this film incredible.
Yeah. Even at the end, when there's a reveal about the mother as to what happens, it's like a wonderful reveal which you don't expect because you think it's either this or that. But then there's another dimension to this, and you wonder, okay, so technically now what? Is she the mother? Is she not? That's. I mean, even the reveal is kind.
I'm saying that's the first thing that in the film, when the end came, it told me how privileged I am.
Yeah.
That's the most incredible hit in your gut in the film.
Yeah.
It shows me कितना भी आप बकवास कर लो, कुछ भी कर लो, हम बहुत privileged हैं.
Yeah. So Karan, when you get a story like you write a story like this, what made you guys say, I'm going to dive right in from scene one. I'm not going to set up anything. I'm not going to start with the brothers or this or that. I'm just going to go to the railway station platform and just dive right into what's happening.
We came across this video that basically Gaurav found on the internet, a brute video, in which it's like a CCTV footage live somewhere in India where this lady just basically steals the child. It's a little more complex than that. It's quite very creepy. She's sleeping next to the mother and she just gets up, picks up the baby lying there as if it's her own and just leaves. You don't even know that when you see the video, you don't realize that this is not her baby, So it's like a person just leaving the station. And then Brute obviously is telling you that actually this kid was kidnapped. And there's lots of videos like that. So when we saw that video, it kind of spurred us to think that, let's start right there. Let's start a story right in the thick of it because we anyway want to tell a story of a very short time with a lot of immediacy in it. So and it was a real challenge to write the brothers after that also because it was such a challenge to get as much as we could. We not really gotten too deeply into them, but within whatever little dialogue or actions or some sense of, if we could sprinkle some past, it was quite challenging to write them and make them more 3D because there's no space. and the narrative kind of takes over the story very fast right in the beginning.
Right.
So it was a bit of a juggling act, but that video I think made us choose that as a decision, right up.
Right, but I think the other thing is these days there's so much information about a film before the film releases that I don't know if you can build to an event, the central event anymore. It's like they anyway know what's going to happen. The film is called Stolen. The trailer reveals what the crux of the film is. Get on with it. It's like people.
That's true.
Earlier you could probably set up and say my brother's wandering around saying, "Oh, my mother's getting married. What should I do? This, that." Build things around that. Yeah. But now you're like, let's just cut to the quick and kind of a thing. But the other thing that really impressed me in this film was how, even within the little space that you got, the main story was being followed, but you also got a sense of the brothers. And one scene that hit me very hard was when one brother tells you, that is your brother tells you that, when this bad thing happened, you just casually said, move on, which is again the practical thing to say, but then some people don't have the empathy in them to say it the right way, and that's something that many of us face in our life. We kind of, when things happen, we don't know what to say. It's like it just says my condolences or something like, we send some random thing and we don't know the exact thing that would be of exact use to that person at that particular time, and that was something that I found very interesting and human in all aspects of the story, so.
Yeah, because in real life also, it's not every day that you get some kind of emotional comfort
Right.
through words. It's very few people can do that. So we are not really, we don't, equipped probably, many of us,
Right.
to understand somebody else's problems really.
Right.
Someone losing someone having a, bad situation. We always say, "Theek ho ja," whatever. How much do we really feel that?
Right.
So I think that's what was important for Gautam, the character. Yeah, I mean,
This is very I'm gonna.
Yeah,
This is a note to my editor, but I'm just going to cut off this next line. But there's everybody jump in. Yeah, this is turning out to be a yeah. Yeah. Or is this easier to just say?
Yeah, also
Kiran, what is your
It's the
opinion?
first interview in the morning.
Kiran, what do you think about this? Vikram, what do you think about this?
Actually, yeah, no, but the beautiful thing, like you said, is that it talks about the dilemma that each of these characters faces, and all of them are grey, and all of them could, be well within their rights, and you could completely understand if they did something different than they do. And it's really, that's the mirror this film kind of holds up to you, because at every point, like Anurag said, you're making a choice, and they're faced with this kind of dilemma, and it's at the same time it's happening really quickly. Everything it's a ride. It's this incredible fast-paced ride, and you don't know what's coming around the corner, and you have to make decisions really quick, and every decision is playing out in a crazy way, and things are falling apart, and it's really exciting. But at the core of it, I think it's really in some way peels away, what are we as civic society? I mean, who are we, and how do we respond to things, and how do we respond to each other,
Right. This reminded me in parts of Deliverance, the John Boorman film where, you watched it, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, when that movie came out, it was very appreciated, but it also kind of invited some criticism about the fact that you're showing the rural versus privileged urban divide by making these guys to be, bad guys or evil guys, or doing all these horrific things. But actually, over the years, the divide has only grown bigger. So when you sense something like that, is there a little bit of moral policing going inside you that says, no, the script has to do this a little better, we have to be a little more nuanced about it, or something like that? Is that happening inside you?
I think the laying bare the two Indias, and I think and that could be two Indias or two any country. I think the class divide, and the class divide, the caste divide, the economic divide is very apparent. Is getting wider, as you said. And I think the way this film lays it out bare, and the person being the one part of it is yes, we're privileged, we shouldn't care. Yes, we're privileged, we should care. And I think even within that bifurcation, there's a further bifurcation that sort of goes on. And I think that's lovely. I think that's fantastic. And I love the fact that starts there and ends up, especially with Abhishek's arc, is the fact of, you know, and not to give spoilers away, but the transformation, the transformative arc of someone like that is very probably unrealistic in
Really?
society. But that's what the movies are for, right? Like, that's hopeful. And I feel that that's something that I think is really beautiful and great movie making, great in terms of like how you want your characters to go from A to Z, not A to B. You want them to go all the way. And I think the way Katie is really sort of like worked that, where you've sort of like seen so many layers of the fact that there's two different Indias, two different societies, but it's an action film, but it's great writing from a pure character perspective, great transformations, great set pieces, and so much social commentary within all that kind of stuff. And yet the ultimate sort of tragedy and irony of just India being, you know, the way it is with all its kind of bureaucratic problems and systemic problems and all of that kind of put
You know,
together.
We also, I think, see films from a lens of being very cinema aware, or, you know, from a very urban lens. So then we see it like us being victims. We have a tendency to do that. But I'm saying, for example, if you take the example of Nicobar, Hollywood is making a film on it when the priest was killed. But they are just, for them, the entire world is just that.
Right.
They don't know the outside world. And they're protecting their own traditions and cultures. They're protecting their own selves.
Yeah.
So they see everything as a threat.
Yeah.
So when it's like an animal hits back only when he feels threatened.
Right.
Not because he wants to attack you.
Well, it's in a sense, but it's actually interesting because it's like this newer kind of, I mean, at least cinema that we've, whether it's Parasite, which again is kind of talking about class divides, any of Ruben Östlund's work, you know, Triangle of Sadness or The Square, which is talking about this in a very, very, and every society has it. I just think that this Stolen kind of represents that part in India in a very cool way.
I would like to just add one thing, that we were, I think very soon, within a month, we were clear that we wanted to represent both sides, you know, and at least give an opportunity to talk about it, give it enough space. Jhumpa is the other side,
right,
which is representing
the mother.
Yeah, the mother is representing everything that's happening outside that car, you know, is represented by her and her story, which is, I felt like, which is completely emotional, and the audience empathizes with them because they through the film they're figuring out what it is, you know, whether she's here, but in the end, when they get to know, they have a lot of empathy for this woman, what she went through. So I think there is a balance in who really is the victim, you know. Is it Jhumpa or is it the brothers?
Yeah.
You know? And they are victims in their own ways.
Right. And one of the things about this movie that, I mean, many things that works so well is that we are not sure about Jhumpa. Just like these guys are not sure. Is it like, is she playing them? Is she really, till that scene in the backseat where she does something in the backseat of the car and kind of proves something to these guys, you're like, is this real? Is she doing something like you know, that was also a very, I mean, everyone is like, you can't put a finger on them. That was something, adding to the fact that, like somebody said, it was a very fast-paced, like a thriller kind of narrative and kind of a thing. So Nikhil, what makes you say, I want to come on board this film or any film as an executive producer? What is the thing that draws you in?
I didn't say it.
Whiskey. So Anurag, okay, so cool.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
You're an easy guy.
No, not really. I mean, he showed me some sizzle of it or whatever, and I think that, I mean, it's such a good. When I saw it, and Vikram and I saw it together, and over here, and we were like, what can we do? How can we do? Why is this? How do we get this out there? Those kind of questions. I mean, you know. So I really, and we are sitting over here. I mean, out of the grace of Gaurav Dhingra, he say, okay, you can, you know, please be participate in this. But otherwise, we were willing to even push it, you know, just namelessly and facelessly, right? We wanted to just keep pushing it as much as possible. It's such a good film. It's such a good, it has every, you know, I don't know who to follow. I'm sometimes I start following Shubham's character, then I just move on to Abhishek's character, then I move on to Jumpa's character, then I move on to the cop, then I move. It's so in.
Yes.
And you're constantly told, who are you following? Every single person that you're meeting, when you're pitching a script and you're pitching something, you're saying, yeah, but which character am I following?
Yeah.
And here is a film that is breaking all those rules.
Yeah.
Right. So let's champion it. Let's just champion it as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's one of those rare films that manages to be really entertaining and thrilling while it's got all this complexity built
Yeah,
into it.
yeah,
And it's not
and-
like a straightforward thriller where you're just like someone's out to get some extra.
Yeah, and it's also
kind of
not
like layered in this way. You know?
and not in a lectury way.
Yeah,
This
not
kind
at
of
all.
goes into the
Right,
story.
it doesn't lecture.
depends.
It doesn't lecture
It
at all.
depends on where you are. Are you a good Samaritan? So are you going to say that Abhishek is being an asshole in the beginning? Why is he not helping that girl?
Right.
Girl's baby has been
And
stolen.
also the most amazing thing that I felt was, for the most part of the beginning, the girl seemed invisible to me as an audience,
Yeah.
which is how it is in real life. It's just the way it is
Your previous
done.
point is always the thing. There's always the thing that are we being scammed? Because the whole that's
Yeah.
also you're like everybody's trying to scam you is your constant sort of like your outlook in
Yeah,
life, and that's what it's been trained. We've been trained in sort of
And
like
there's
seeing it that way.
misinformation, right?
That's beautifully done.
Even the guys who are following them later on, they've got some WhatsApps and they've got some these things, and you hear these stories constantly.
Yeah.
That this just spread like in an instant it spread. There were crowds over there. There was a mob. I mean, these guys have done a lot of research and
Yeah.
they've read, seen
I'm
videos
really
and that kind of
interested to know
stuff.
how you wrote it, because it's in writing also. I don't know.
यार हम लोग
was
जब
it
shoot
quick
कर रहे हैं
in the writing process? Was it very instinctive?
I think we had the structure like very early on, and we were kind of happy with it. And then, of course, maybe little improvements to it. But the character work went on. I mean, it was a little bit of a stop and start because of COVID, so we weren't like constantly writing. But till the last, like till the end, we were doing character work. And when the actors
each
came on
game,
board, then we did more character
did,
work.
like,
So
another
the character work continued while the structure kind of was set almost, you know.
Yeah.
Because
Do it, man.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Still the way to do it.
Yeah, we were doing it in the night. We had a script,
You're
but
doing it
in the
in the
night we
edit,
were
you're
realizing
doing
what
the
we
edit.
did yesterday and how that
That's the way to do it.
kind of how that
that you're
enriched
constantly
us.
shifting things.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting that before the interview, Abhishek was telling me that he wanted to pay the other brother. You like
That's
that?
what he came to me with.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the offer.
They came to you as that.
Yeah.
Gautam was played
Alright.
by some other actor.
All right.
And
But you made a good choice.
no, I didn't. They
No,
made the choice.
we that didn't
when I
happen.
went back to him and said that, I thought now I'm going to offer him the lead, so he's going to be like, fuck yeah, of course I'll take it. Then I went to him and बोला अभिषेक यार आप ये नहीं आप गौतम कर लो. कहता क्यों? नहीं मुझे तो वही कर. मैंने कहा नहीं लीड का क्या मतलब है? मुझे वही करना है. Then I had to reconvince
like
him.
already that
I had to
character was
reconvince
with
him. No,
me.
do
I was
this.
thinking
Why?
like
Why
Raman
should you
and-
do this?
As
But
would
they're so
always
well
take the
suited to these
as
roles,
would
so I'm
always
happy
take the
Yeah,
That's
but
more
you also have this.
strange.
You have the biggest transformative arc. You begin with all these Western clothes. You end up with looking the way you do, and
It's a great
like
It's a
everything is
great
just you.
But
You
that-
know,
But I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
be right. Like I want to think.
after playing all these bad roles.
Yeah.
After playing all these
Plus,
bad
also, I
roles.
think the
that-
casting is just so right.
Yeah.
I think Shubham is right for that role.
Nia is so good.
Abhishek
मैंने की है
so good.
casting
Nia
in
is
Shubham.
incredible.
yeah.
Casting भी तो नहीं.
So, Karan, you spoke a bit about the writing, and
No, wait.
we can't get deeper into this, but I'm very interested in one cinematic choice that you had, which is a very hard cut that you do when his character is surrounded by all these other people, and they're trying to prove that something about a baby, and then you do an extraordinarily hard cut and go to total silence inside a police van where this girl is finally telling her story to this person. It's not this scene doesn't like segue into that so much as damn, like you just. So can you just tell me why you chose that?
All the cuts, I mean, yes, that's a big jump, but we had decided on only flat cuts for the film, so there's no other edit
no
choice.
segue-ish kind of-
There's no other edit choice we made. Everything is a flat cut actually, and so it was. I mean, once we had decided that, then it was always going to be that. But of course, the main thing was to juxtapose him against her,
Okay.
because soon he's going to go into the ambulance where he's going to discover something where now he has to take the choice again.
Right.
And so, you want to put the audience in that space to understand her. When we get to him, he takes that choice.
Yeah.
It's just a simple choice he takes actually, that he finds out who the kidnapper is, and now whatever he's learned and experienced, can he get past now without taking action? And of course, I mean, his character has that much empathy by then, and he takes the action. So it's sort of
It's also the
it's sort of
fall, right? It's
juxtaposition
also
of what and then, you know.
The fall is so, like, dreadful that there's no option but to rise. That's what I thought. Like the anxiety in the streets or the highways, and something happens, some mishap happens. You're always worried that if you pitch in, you might get into trouble.
Yeah.
That's what your parents have told you. बचपन से.
That's
कि किसी और
what I
के
said at the
पचड़े में
beginning,
मत पड़ो.
yeah.
This is what we've been hearing. So there's always this sense of anxiety when something like that happens. And of course, when you read news and watch videos. So yeah, but then when I think that's what there's always this saturation point. कि आप कितना डरोगे?
Yeah.
Like when it's completely it's all shattered. Like his brother is in the hospital, he's beaten, bruised. So there's no other option but to rise.
Yeah.
I think that much I'm expecting from all of us. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like the fear is okay, but at least
Yeah.
rise at some time.
And
Right.
that was there in the original script.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet you wanted to play the other role.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be righteous.
Yeah. Another thing that was very interesting for me as a movie, because I prefer music that's a little minimalistic and not like truly. But I also understand that in India we have a big tradition of background scores and people wanting to be like the swelling music and all that. And in this, I think it's around the 20th minute when the brothers get into the van or something and sorry, the car and start moving out is when you first hear a faint guitarish kind of thing. I mean, because all of you are like in films, I just would like to hear any point of view about this, the maximalism that we generally have in our films versus this kind of minimalism, I guess.
At least for me, the creative choice was quite like straightforward because I wanted to tell this very kind of almost feeling like real story. And of course, with music, there is a certain, it becomes more of a film. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, so ideally, I didn't want to get away from it too much. And in fact, during the filmmaking process, none of it, I mean, I never imagined anything with music.
Yeah.
I thought none of it is going to have music and only diegetic music. We were playing in a couple of places. And I thought that if I see the edit and if I feel, then, we can decide then, sort of a thing. And yeah, when I did, and when I saw the edit, there were parts which then have music. Of course, with the chase, we always thought that there would be some music over it. I mean, I assumed that to some extent. But there were a few other parts that we put music to. A few of them were recommended by the composer. A few of them, when we were editing, we felt that, oh, here we need some music. Some places the editor would point out. So those few places that it kind of made it was, I think it works very well to have that music there. But to begin, I was thinking of it very clean, like just very real,
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean,
I think we should also ask Anurag, because now he's doing all these mainstream films as an actor. What his viewpoint is about music.
No, I think there's a.
I mean, they are all styles, valid styles. I'm just like asking.
the need of this project, I think, right?
I think it goes from film to film. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you see Gaywan's film has minimal music. His film has very minimal, where it's needed. Sometimes Vikram loves using music. Don't worry.
But I mean, in Stolen Orphan, I mean, now when I'm trying to rack my brains, I can't remember any music in the film.
Yeah, you can't,
That's
because
that's
in
the
the film-
testament to the film itself is the fact that
Yeah.
and every score should always be subtextual, should always be subconscious, should always be
Right.
helping the narrative along. And right now, like you've seen it most recently, but if I have to think back, I was like, is there any music in the film at all? I was like,
Yeah.
No, we don't.
like you kind of
don't really. But the thing is, for me, there's a lot of takeaway, not just as an audience, as a filmmaker from the film. Like you said, the way it starts at the station.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to set it up.
Yeah.
Setup. Film का setup क्या है? I'm saying there's so much learning from this film as a filmmaker.
And I think it speaks to now how things are. No? You're used to like reels and everybody's in there. You're in there seeing things happen. And it's like this film has that kind of like you can't take your eyes off because it's happening in
You're
real
just
time.
getting it, and
feels like.
characters are not established, they unravel.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the characters unravel, the film unravels, the plot unravels, everything in this film is, it starts at a station. It almost seems like कि कुछ पता नहीं क्या सेटअप हो रहा है, फिल्म वहीं शुरू हो रही है, bang on, hard. So that, I think there's a lot of learning from this film as a filmmaker.
Your
Like-
earlier question to Nikhil, why as an EP is that because we all saw the film at some and fairly early, I think in 2023, late 2023, whatever we saw the film. So, and every time one would speak to Gaurav, I was like, "क्या हो रहा है स्टूडेंट का? कुछ नहीं हो रहा है." We all be surprised, "Huh? कुछ नहीं हो रहा है? What are you talking about? How is it possible?
Yeah,
How is
yeah.
such a good film
My biggest surprise.
not getting released? Why is it not getting released?" At some point in time, we're like, "Okay, let's just take the bull by the horns." And now one has to sort of like do something.
But you know, that is also, that says very clearly about why our industry is suffering. Because if they can't see a film like Stolen is such a great film that it needs to be out there, it shows how much vision our distribution system and that whole system lacks. When you can't see the merit in a film like Stolen. That हम लोग को 4 लोग को इकट्ठा किया सबने, निखिल अडवाणी ने, मोटवानी ने.
नहीं, but we had to steal the film from Gaurav Dhingra. We had to say, release करो यार, कुछ भी करो, release करो. I remember we were on some rooftop of some restaurant and I think both Vic and I gagged him and said, "Now we are talking."
Yeah, they bullied me. Call them now.
Call now.
Call now. Yes, I'm dialing the phone. Doctor.
What's wrong with you?
Okay.
अरे literally
हो जाएगा.
it was like Vikram Motwani's message to me on this. Will you come on board Stolen as EP? I said yes. Okay.
You saw the film though.
Of course. Yes.
I saw the film long back.
All saw it.
See, we have all
I
loved the
spoke to
film,
Kiran- I spoke to
and
Kiran-
at some time or the other, all of us have gotten on calls.
We were on some panel.
Discussing.
We were on some panel and in Delhi, and then suddenly Vic said, "Ki, hey, listen, I'm talking to Dhingra. We are going on
We met him
EP.
in front of him.
Yeah, we met in Delhi.
All of them
All of them.
individually,
Yeah.
all of them individually wanted to come on board, and they somehow ganged up.
Nice.
So that's
That's like, yeah.
We have all tried to push the
This
film.
has
और हमें
become
ऐसा भी नहीं था कि like
alternative
कोई भी release
model.
करे.
Yeah.
There's no other way, you know.
We've done it
because
also on another film. Where there's 20 of us.
difficult. I mean, of course, honestly, Stolen is unusual. I mean, it's like a cracking film debut. It's just like delicious. But even otherwise, we all come across films that are good, they're lovely in different ways, but just will not find their way out there because they don't tick the boxes.
Yeah.
That you know the.
So
the
you throw your
distribution
clout
structures.
behind it
Yeah,
and,
I think
and
this
say,
is the alternative model. There's no other way to.
I
do
think
it.
yeah, that's the only way.
This
So
is the
abhi,
way
after this film, I'm getting KT, Gaurav Dhingra, and everybody to help me release my film.
Yes.
Done.
Gaurav, your man.
Oh wow.
you know, I'm having these visions of giant panels that I'm going to have to interview simply because every film is going to have these wonderful people, and I'm like,
No,
how,
because-
how do I do this in 30 minutes? And it's
We are
like,
fighting against a very insecure system right now at this moment. They just want a film to be branded a success before it even comes out. So I think they have their designed or like, you know, expected merit points. हाँ, ये work करेगा.
yeah.
So they are not really looking at films anymore.
I mean, consumption has also changed.
Yeah,
and, you know,
everything,
people
everything.
Going to cinemas has so dropped off. I mean, exhibition is in a really strange place.
Right.
Like especially for Hindi films, you know, you don't know what is actually
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
This, from 2023 in Venice, right?
Yeah.
To 2025, we are now in June. Going to, we're going into June. It's been quite a while you've stayed with this film. So apart from, like trying to showcase this in other festivals,
Yeah.
was there also like you were also trying to like get people to see it or distribute it? Or?
Yeah. I think, as I said, we aligned on the first 3 weeks on the vision of the film, and the vision of the film is global distribution. You know, we want this film to go out to the world. So right after Venice, there were some offers, and slowly as the festivals were unfolding, we were getting a lot of offers from all over the world: China, Japan. We had France, Germany. We had lots of pieces. But the challenge was that the primary market didn't have sales at the time. And as soon as the film releases at one market and it doesn't release the other, the piracy just takes over the film.
It happened with Ugly.
It happens with all films. You know, it happened with Angry in my other film also. And I had to kind of sit on it and say no to all these, almost 54 offers.
Oh.
On small territories, but the primary territory is not sold. So that set us slightly back, and I couldn't take that call because my commitment to even Karan was that we're going to show this for across the world. You know, that's our vision with it. because we are making it in that manner. We invested the largest amount of time was on the script and the development.
Right.
The largest amount of money also is gone in the film is in the script and the development of the film. That is something that we were married to from day one, and till we are getting that, we are not going to move. That was our stance.
You know, we were discussing it yesterday, and basically the costs of marketing a film and distributing
it's
it
crazy.
just prohibitive, and that's why like smaller films just don't end up getting there. And you know, there's a question of like, are people coming to cinemas? Would, you know, lots of people pay money to go see a film that they don't, you know, perhaps know the actors in or whatever. But it's like just prohibitive even to get to that point, to test the market. You know?
And a lot of people are unaware because I guess we're all in some way part of the ecosystem. We're aware that, oh, this Friday, these movies are coming out or whatever. But when you talk to like a general person, like you know, who's doing anything else, they're not really into films, but they like watching films. They're like, oh, that's coming out this Friday. I didn't realize that at all. And sometimes it's even the bigger ones. You know, they're just not aware because there's just so much coming at them, and they're like.
Pre-pandemic, there was a need to go to the cinema to be able to at least get your fix of whatever kind of movies that whether it's even the kind of movies that we in our ecosystem like to watch. I mean, you've released Ship of Theseus, right? And it did fairly decently for the kind of film it was.
I saw it in the theatre in Chennai.
But that same film today would be an impossibility.
It will be very different.
It's hard to get, like, you know, like he said, habits have just changed.
Completely changed.
We used to literally look at what's coming this weekend. And now nobody checks to see unless, it's
I
something.
think film like Udaan, Lunchbox
No, but
would be
indie film
very
was,
hard to release today.
Newton was probably the last of the pure indie films. That kind of
Lunchbox
film.
maybe comedy
Like
is only
in the theatre, but if you look at it
Udaan to
from
film because it went to Cannes and got released.
Masaan,
Masipur released because it went to
Udaan,
there was no
all of
release.
these films
That's-
have
yeah,
like
that-
gone and played theatrically. Dhobighat was
Dhobighat was in cinema.
deeply live. You know, you had
After the Cannes was
the
announced.
last decade was until the pandemic it suddenly
for one
you
month.
see what
Outside
happened.
only see the success. Nobody knows
The
what's
Disciple,
behind now.
which is for me one of the great indie movies of our time.
It's
Extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Yeah.
1.5 years.
I don't want to talk about another person,
released,
but
but
it's fantastic.
I think
Disciple got into theaters?
No.
Oh, yeah. No.
I feel the audience also feels betrayed with the experience as, I mean, we are making films, but they are watching these films in a theater, let's say. But that experience is kind of not.
But, I'm saying we have also conditioned our audiences to see. I think the fault lies all across, all around. We have conditioned our audiences for waiting for the star's next film and all that.
Yeah.
I'm saying, for example, last year's everybody's favorite film was Lapta Ladies, and I remember when I saw the film and I called her. She said, "But Anurag, nobody's going to theaters." That's what she said. Her first reaction was, "But nobody's going to cinema." I said, "What are you saying?" I said, "It is, but the thing is." The same film. When later it came on OTT, everybody saw it.
Yeah.
And everybody started saying, "Yaar, हमें theatre में देखना चाहिए था."
But that's, Anurag, that's pretty thing, right? People have this is an OTT film.
But
this
it is
a-
also, we have conditioned our audiences like that. We have also
Have
conditioned our
you
audience.
conditioned or have the audience themselves?
Audiences have found their comfort zone. They have found their comfort zone.
They've been disappointed numerous times. They've
They've been
spent money.
disappointed
Now
numerous
there's
times.
too
They
many
don't go to
alternatives.
theatres.
There's no
And
reason
we are
to
not
be-
we never gave them new content.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were saying, right?
What?
We were talking about,
Yeah.
which is that they want to be fooled only 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Right? 26 January, Eid, 15th August, Diwali and Christmas.
That's the thumbnail.
5 बार हम लोग पागल मतलब ये भी
अगर ये 5 बार हमको बेवकूफ बनाओगे माना बंद कर देंगे.
बन जाएंगे 5 बार. I don't want to be every Friday मुझे बेवकूफ नहीं बनना है.
Yeah. But this is a.
But I think the films are not supposed to be either this or that. We want to do it all across platform. Why can't we do that? Theatrical, OTT, you know, all of them are platforms for
That's
us.
the other thing, you know, it's become an either-or situation, which
Yeah.
it never used to be
Yeah,
pre-pandemic and even slightly post. It was like, you know, you had a window, whatever.
Right.
But it's sort of like films are now slotted.
Yeah.
You know, this is the kind of film that can't, which is unfortunate because I feel like all of us watch stuff on streaming, and without streaming, I think much of our watching would be incomplete.
Yeah, we would watch many films. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but some, you know, some amount of that pleasure that comes from just watching on a big screen, we've lost because the ones we want to watch are no longer releasing in cinema.
Yeah. So.
And don't
But-
release Stolen in a 300-seater. Release it in a 100-seater. It will fly.
It will fly.
I was of the opinion that it's a blockbuster.
Yeah,
It is a
Blockbuster
blockbuster.
really-
film. It can easily like
It's a
it
great
should have.
experience.
I was like constantly telling these guys like we why are we not going. Anyway, I'm delighted now
Yeah.
that this
I
film
mean,
is going to be watched by
Yeah,
the
finally it
whole,
is.
whole world.
Yeah, it's out there. It's
And
going to
one-
come soon.
in
Let's
one
look at
shot.
let's look at the positive.
No, I think Amazon
the
is the
beauty.
positivity
Only
here.
positive.
You know,
Yeah.
because they came in and they kind of
They've got the blockbuster,
yeah,
which is
they,
great.
yeah.
they
Which is
they
great.
are the kind of people who really picked it up. Like,
Yeah.
I have really great respect.
Seriously, hats off to
Personal
them.
experience,
And-
they've been amazing to me also.
Yeah. So
And
thanks
there was
everyone.
always this inherent instinct that this will happen. Like when Gaurav, and I think the strength comes from history. You know, when you see a
Who from
Tumba,
Amazon picked the film?
you know,
Money.
getting a release after 9 years, I used to always tell him, "भाई 9 साल लगे थे ना." कोई बात नहीं, wait here. You know, I used to always like, he used to obviously like producer, like, you know, get stressed. That was our way of managing it.
Yeah.
But Amazon is fighting a good fight. I'm not saying it because this is an Amazon this thing. Because
No,
No,
it's
they are
amazing.
they're really putting
even
it.
the
They've been-
future
Yeah.
when we are not, for our future projects and films that we are talking to them about, and we say, okay,
They're fighting the war.
is it direct to service? And he says no.
Yeah.
They're saying no. We are going to Amazon MGM. We are going into
Going to cinemas.
theaters.
Yeah, they've
And
been.
also they have really set a high bar with all the stuff that they make.
Yeah.
You know, basically. So it's really great that it goes to like reason that they would pick this.
For me,
And I'm
my
really
my
happy that,
personal
like,
experience
how
was
many
like
other countries now we'll see it.
the film that I have made and the way they have supported me. And I've struggled 9 years to do it. And they saw in it what nobody else saw in it. So for me, it's like on a personal level, I feel like what they're doing
Yeah.
is
So I mean, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
And
We need
excited.
thank you for
more
the
Amazon.
film, Karan, and for you for producing it, and everybody else for being on board. And we'll gather again when we gather to support Anurag's film.
next film. Yeah. Please, everybody.
There'll be an amphitheater here.
Sorry?
There'll be an amphitheater.
Yeah, we've been at amphitheater. Yeah. So thanks everyone.
Thank
Thank you so much.